What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why I think Loki needs to be added as a boss fight in Marvel's Avengers. So this is kind of a way to introduce, new villains, talk about the state of the game and how it needs to a little bit expand upon that, and also really talk about how Loki could work in a game like this, which, by the way, I think he absolutely could fit perfectly into this game. So really quickly, before I jump into that, I do want to promote our Discord. If you guys haven't yet already joined, good place to meet new people, especially with this game, to play with them. I know a lot of people are starting to reach those higher levels with the new end game stuff of Avengers eventually coming out very, very soon. Good place to kind of organize some play sessions. So again, the link for that will be in the description below. So look, I've said it before, the game needs more bosses, flat out. And, we talked about the single player. I have a problem with the lack of bosses in the single player, but also the multiplayer. You go into Avengers Initiative, you're playing all the war zones, all the threat sectors, all the different stuff. And look, there are some, and you can fight Abomination, you fight Taskmaster, and they put them sometimes in different places, which sometimes, I guess, revitalizes them as villains. They fight pretty okay, and I do understand the difficulty spike, like as it continues to get harder. You can argue, you're doing it in a different way, and you can argue there's replayability. There is a replayability factor there, okay? I can understand that. At the same time, when we look at the end game stuff, when we look at what's even coming, right? The Mega Hive, stuff like that, the wave-based one where you fight the villain at the end, I mean, you're going to still be fighting the same two villains. I just don't think with a game like this, the way I continue to say it, now I really want to make this point, by the way, stick, because that's how we're going to introduce Loki, right? With the way this game works, and when everybody reaches higher power levels, when people beat the single player and they go in the multiplayer, in order to play this game long-term, flat out, we're going to need more than those two. I get there's like the war, like the big like bot that you have to take out all the legs and take out all like the core things on them. Like, I get there's that one. I actually think that's the best boss fight that this game has in the multiplayer, but they need more. They absolutely need more. And to their credit, I don't want to just bash them, to their credit, when they talk about DLC, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, all this stuff, they did say that it's not just heroes, they're also going to be adding villains with DLC. I think that would be something we would want, and honestly, if they could even do, and this would be incredible, if they could do a villain for every DLC, that would be insane. I do not think that's going to happen, but even a bigger like pipe dream, if they could do that, and then also maybe in like once a month they do like a drop and they add, I really do think they should do something like that, like once a month, once every other month, just drop a bunch of new missions, a bunch more drop zones, a bunch more war zones, new places, new villains, maybe even new enemy types. If they could do that semi-often, I think that would honestly, I think that would really, really help the game. Bottom line, though, is they do need more actual villains for these villain sectors, for pretty much anything that you're going to have to fight a villain at the end of. Again, this end game stuff as well. They need more. Loki wasn't there like a comic series leading into this game? Loki was in it. So Loki exists in this world. We know that. There's the Lego sets that came out on this game, and Loki was one of them. So that does still give me a lot of hope. Look, I even pitched this as an idea leading into it. I said, should Loki or will Loki be in the game? Now I'm demanding it. Now I'm saying Loki needs to be a boss fight in this game, really, because the possibility, well, firstly, it is, I'll say this to kind of go against even my own argument. It would be a little strange because, again, you're looking at all these DLC characters. Maybe you would have villains tied to them, right? We've talked about that. Thor would be ideally the partner to Loki, right? And these are already characters that are in the base game. So that is, at the same time, what you could argue again, so I'm coming up with actual counter arguments to my counter arguments. You look at Taskmaster, very much the opponent of Black Widow, and Abomination, very much the opponent of Hulk. So you've already gotten 2 of the 6. You could even maybe say MODOK is like the villain for Kamala, and you can even say like that robot, like the big war thing, that is maybe the villain to Tony. So you really only have Cap and Thor left. So you could do Red Skull. I don't know how you would do that, but you could do him. You could do Loki. I think it would work really, really well. So firstly, as just a personality, well, I don't want to put too much thought into this because if we're being flat out honest with Avengers, they don't really care about those. I mean, do we care about what's going on with Taskmaster or Abomination? Not really. All we know is they're doing something, right? Maria Hill kind of opens us up with what's the task at hand, what the situation is with these villains. We go through it. Maybe we hear them talk to us through comm links like throughout the mission, and then we fight them at the end. There's not a lot of depth to them, and that does kind of suck because if Loki is added into this game, I do want him to kind of be fleshed out. Like I would like him to be really developed. I really just don't think we will get that. At the same time, still, you can get the character design, which I think could look really, really cool. You have how he could fight. Now, how he could fight would be real because he's got his, he has his weapon, so he can have melee attacks. He could have long-range attacks, right? Maybe he can shoot things out of it. Maybe he can turn into multiple like clones of himself. I could very easily see something like that happening. Look, Abomination, I think, is probably the weaker of the two of Taskmaster and Abomination. Taskmaster does a lot of things in his fight that actually are kind of cool and a bit strategic where you have to kind of pay attention. Abomination does too. I just think he's maybe a little bit easier to read, stuff like that. Loki, I really feel like could be the best of all of them. I think you could probably develop his move set where he's like engaging, where he can attack you long range, he can attack you close range. He's got different things that make him pretty unique, like again, maybe having different versions of him. I think the possibility there is really, really cool. Again, what he could be doing. I mean, you could even introduce like an Infinity Stone if you want to. That's kind of the cool thing about it, though, is they could do roughly anything with the DLC. Really, both heroes and villains, because again, the ending of this game, in my opinion, is more geared towards DLC than it is an Avengers 2. I think it is. I think the plan, we're going to talk about this, right? Actually, we've already talked about, hopefully by the time you guys are seeing this video, you've heard me talk about both of them. I think, it was meant for multiple reasons, but I do think the whole goal was to get these DLC characters in, and where they take the story right now is kind of it's an unknown, right? They can do whatever they want with Kate Bishop to get us to Hawkeye, and then Hawkeye, they can do whatever to get us to blank, right? If they do Captain Marvel, then we can start bringing in outer space stuff and start maybe bringing in outside threats, okay? You can then start bringing, Spider-Man obviously is going to have kind of at-home kind of villains, right? So, I mean, you can do a lot of different things, but really where the story goes from here is completely up to them. And with Loki, you can do something kind of unique with it. Now, again, ideally, I would like a Loki kind of villain arc of missions, which I don't think we're going to get, because what it seems like we're doing is you get the DLC character, the hero, they have like the story quest. Maybe it's only an icon, because the way it sounds like is it would be multiple missions. At the same time, we know this game is kind of structured for those iconic missions for each character, so we'll have to see how many missions we're actually playing as each. Hopefully it's sizable. Loki being a villain makes it harder because you're not going to be able to play as him, so why would he have multiple missions? If he's a villain, would you see him multiple times? And again, if that is the case, he would need to be tied to probably Thor, unless you want to bring in somebody else and tie them into Loki, which you could even bring maybe Hawkeye and tie him into Loki if that's something maybe they've thought of, right? I just want some way to get him in this game more than less. Like, I guess worst case scenario, but still honestly a good thing, because we would get Loki, is you get him as a villain sector, you get him as an end game kind of content where you go through the waves and you face him at the end. I mean, that is bottom of the barrel, but at least we get a new villain to kind of spice up the game, give us some additional things to do. Best case scenario is maybe they can do additional things with not even just him. I mean, he's a good starting point, right? But all villains that maybe they're going to introduce over the next couple years to give them a bit more depth. To be honest with you, though, that is just a dream. That's a dream of mine. That's a pitch. I'm maybe making it sound good. I'm making it sound good to myself for sure. But it is just a dream. I don't know if they're going to put that much effort into them, especially when it seems like the heroes, obviously, and I get it, but the heroes are kind of the main thing. They're going to put the most effort into them. Villains will probably be secondary, but I really do think they need to recognize the weaknesses they have with these boss fights, that they just don't have enough of them. They don't have enough diversity in it, and I think giving us somebody like Loki would be absolutely amazing. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think Loki should be added as a boss fight in this game? How do you think they would do that? Do you think maybe he will in an additional, a DLC pack? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, make sure sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. More Avengers videos still coming to you guys every so often. We'll talk about the endgame content. I'll be playing it as soon as it's available, all that kind of stuff, and we'll cover it right here, okay? Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.